Hi, this is Nathan Crane, founder of the Panacea Community and executive producer of Unify Fest, and I really appreciate you all for joining us for the second annual Self-Reliance Summit. We're dedicated to bringing you real-world practical advice and inspiration for living more self-reliant, interconnected, and sustainable. So again, thank you for joining us. And today I'm super excited to introduce a very special guest, Mick Dodge. Mick stepped away from the isolation of modern life and followed his feet deep into the lands of the Olympic Mountains to remember, recover, and restore his relationship with what is wild. The Legend of Mick Dodge TV show has inspired over 6 million viewers to discover the forest Mick calls home. Mick Dodge and Earthgym co-founder Jacquie Chandler weave the connection of Mick's walk with geotourism opportunities by sharing the Earthgym practice at workshops, EarthDays, art walks, schools, colleges, classes, and retreats since 1996. Mick, hey, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for what you do. This is awesome, what you put together and what you're doing. So
absolutely. I mean, it's an honor for me, and I'm sure for many of our viewers are super happy to see you. I've watched probably every episode of The Legend of Mick Dodge and love your character, your personality, but also the wisdom and the real-world practicality. And I know there's so much more inside of you, behind the scenes of who you really are, beyond the TV show that just seems so genuine and sincere. And I'm excited to help kind of, for you to be able to share that with all of our viewers on the summit.
Yes, yeah, it's...
So happy to have you. And you know, we're going to dive right in. So let's begin by talking about your experience in living barefoot and its relationship to self-reliance. So really my first question is, what was it that first started you on this barefoot journey?
Well, my feet hurt. I had really bad hammer toes, plantar fasciitis, back pain. I just had a lot of pain going on, and I went back up into the hole. A doctor had told me, so we got to cast your feet. I'm very physically active. I've been training for years, a lot of movement disciplines, powerlifting, running, and I went back up into my cabin on the Hoh River Valley, and I was sitting there with my feet cast, and this doctor said, this is medical, U.S. medical mainstream, said we're going to cast your feet for 6 weeks. After 6 weeks, we're going to cut off the cast, and then we're going to put you through rehabilitation and get your feet healed. And as I was sitting there in front of the fire in the Hoh River Valley is just a very powerful place for me, and spiritual place, a teacher. And as I was sitting there in the Hoh Valley with the fire going, I grabbed this magazine article, National Geographic, and it was about Chinese women foot binding. And the minute I picked that up, I looked at all my shoes. I mean, I had shoes for running in the rain, shoes for climbing. I had shoes with shanks in them. I didn't know what a shank was for, but if the magazine said you got to have them for your feet, I had them. And then I realized I was binding my feet. And so I took my hunting knife that night. I sat there for almost 5 hours, opening that magazine and closing it. And I took my hunting knife, cut off those casts, and I started walking barefoot. And I just made a vow that I'm gonna heal my feet by landing them in the earth. And one of the most, I was 225 pounds of bodybuilding mass. My whole upper body, everything was trained, but the most terrible, sickest feeling came over me was that my feet no longer fit the earth. They fit shoes. They fit modern day environment. But when I went out into the earth, I was running in boots and rain shoes and stuff. And that feeling was a deep motivator to me. And it was the earth teaching me. And I believe now what I know is that the earth was squeezing my feet in these shoes and crippling them up for me to pay attention. And that was an earth sign to me. And as I began to pay attention, I mean, the first thing that happens to you when you step out of shoes, you have to start paying attention. But the second thing is you get to accept. You know, here comes acceptance. And one is I had to accept I did this to my own feet. And then the other thing I got to accept, though, is there's this primal, ancient, ancestral memory in our bodies that desires to align. Because within 2 days, my back pain went away.
Mm.
Just kept walking barefoot, allowing my foot fit back into the earth. And then I had the 6 weeks out there. I just healed myself by landing my feet back in there. But then I couldn't stop. Because then as I got back to a job I had as a heavy equipment mechanic, I was, you got to wear boots with steel toes. I cut the soles off the bottom of my boots and just kept the steel toe part and walked around barefoot working with that. And I was moving so much better, and I was getting more fluid, and I could just feel the strength in my body just coming back. And then I realized this other thing that was healing in me was this constant sadness I was feeling in my body. And sadness is an emotion about loss. Every time I look at sadness, I see there's something lost. And I realized I was healing that lost connection with the earth. And then I realized the job I was feeling, smelling the floor through my feet, and I stepped away from houses, everything, and I just took off. And then the next big awareness that really came to me is the biggest pain I had going on in life was boredom. Modern life was boring to me. And as I began to step out and allow that abundance of the earth came in, I was on an adventure, and it hasn't stopped. I mean, it's still going on. It's why I say follow your feet, the earth will teach.
So are you barefoot all the time, 100% of the time?
No, no, no. It's there's times your feet get cold, so you want to get them in some kind of footwear. But what I do is look at handcrafted footwear. We have two different size feet, so my barefooting led me into sandals, led me into crafting of moccasins. Jacquie Chandler, I call her Moon Hair. She crafts footwear. I learned how to craft my own. I learned how to just take socks and just wear socks sometimes. It takes off a little bite of the cold. And socks is probably the only machine structured craft or footwear we can get that has that flexibility. And it's really key for me to hang on to that reflexibility, that reflex action. Because I think we become too polarized because we land on our heels too much.
Right.
We need more of that middle strike, and that's a reflex action. And so our mind picks up how to reflex when our muscles are really reflexing. So no, there's times I wear footwear, but I do make it a point at least each day to land my feet out for an hour or 2 hours. There's a whole earthing philosophy about negative ions and stuff that come up through there, and I can go up to the 2 hours in the snow barefoot. But I wear leggings. I wear big lambskin leggings and to keep the blood warm going down through my calves and that part of the leg. So you have to rediscover a practice, but you got this primal memory in you that will lead you on there, and you just keep things simple, and then the more expresses itself. That's a key philosophy, I think, of barefooting.
Well, and if we look at society today, we have all these flat roads and flat sidewalks and flat floors,
Absolutely.
and they're cement and rock and tile and hard, and then we have these flat shoes, and so we're walking, flat foot on flat surface, and then you see all the, arthritis in the knees and tendonitis and, all kinds of issues going on, lower back pain issues and all this stuff. And it's like we're walking in ways that we're not designed to walk. One of the awareness that I've had over the years in walking barefoot outside is you almost never find anywhere on the planet where there's naturally flat, hard surface unless you're on like a rare flat rock or something. But
Right.
99% of the time, if you're walking or running, you've got holes and divots and heels and ups and downs and sand and dirt. So it's
Right.
working all different parts of your feet and ankle like this, right? So you went barefoot and it healed a lot of your issues. What were some of those issues that it healed? You said your back. Anything else?
Oh, back. The mostly was the heart. It opened up the passion, and one experience I had where my heart really opened up. I was setting my stashes up high in the mountains, and was smoking salmon and elk and putting my food stashes up, and I'd been crossing this clear cut. I don't know how many times, and it never really bothered me. We used to it. I grew up around them as a boy, and as I was moving through the stump, I call them the stump lands, that clear cut.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I still recall it. This intense um, sadness came up in me, and when you stay sad too long, you get angst, you get mad, and
Yeah.
this incredible rage came up in me. And I was just down on my knees and I was slamming against the ground. We don't need to do this. We don't need to behave this way. And then, what do I do? I was planning on just hiding out in the mountains and living a short life and just living out that bliss that way and see where it led me. But it was another earth sign to me, and so it made me, this sadness, this touch of the earth. I was feeling this from the earth, and so then it sent me on my calling. It's not about me; it's about showing up and participating as an earth being. And so, what am I supposed to do? I've been trained. I've been in the Marines. I've been in martial art, all kinds of stuff. What am I going to do? Go around, pick fights, and blow shit up, and that kind of stuff. And the vision that came to me as I kept running through the earth and picking this vision up through that moment and that time was to go steal shoes and sell barefooted. And so at that time, I took off on my journey, and I was just running around with a two-wheel cart and telling people, "Hey, you got to try barefooting, man! You can't believe what'll happen." And that mantra, those earth signs. When you start really bringing your feet online and you're touching, your muscles are lining with all your sensory flow. And so things become very sensitive to you, but also very clear, and you begin to see your vision. So you can have a calling, but I use the run as a meditation form, as a vision questing form. I was going on long runs to find out what to do next. And so it set me out on my vision, and that was one of the things that I'm pointing out that it healed. Is many times we can have well, for me anyway, I'll speak for myself. I have my calling. I knew my calling was, I love the mountain. I love, the earth. I know this is that way, but the vision was not clear. And then, so I quested to get clear vision, and then the next thing, my mission became clear. And a mission is a physical thing. It's a physical grounding. And we can have all the vision talk we want, but until we bring it into physical effort and making that effort, it means nothing. I mean, it just kind of floats around in our head, or, we have a culture now, a cultural story we all share where there's never been so many people that have become defeated. And I spell that with two E's. There's too much sitting on the butt. There's too much talking going back and forth. It's time to take our talk of what's right and what's wrong and take it for a walk, take it for a run, and see if it's making sense. And so I say, follow your feet and the earth will teach. What will it teach you? I have no idea. I only know what it teaches me, and then I can share that. And then other people come back and share what it teaches them. So that's really the big shift that took place in me, was getting that awareness and then participating with that.
Well, it's interesting because it reminds me, maybe in 2006, 2007, sometime around then, I had gotten sober. I had stopped smoking cigarettes. I dedicated myself to meditation and more spiritual awareness, and really wanting to live a good life and a clean life. And all of a sudden, one day, sporadically, it was just one of those spontaneous thoughts. It was like, go running barefoot. And I hadn't watched TV or anything like that, or YouTube or anything, at that point. And I hadn't watched TV for probably 10 or 12 years before then. So it was just this strong calling. I hadn't heard it or seen it anywhere. It's like, just go do it. So I ran up on this dirt trail at this house I was staying at. And every morning for, I don't know how long, maybe a month, couple months, I'd go run barefoot up this dirt trail and down. And afterwards, I just felt so amazing. I felt so like invigorated and so alive. And I didn't think much about it other than there's definitely this connection that's been missing between my physical body and the earth. Later, I come to find that there's a very powerful spiritual connection that's happening as well that we're missing when we're not barefoot on the earth. But the funny thing was maybe after a few weeks of that, I'm driving. I think it was in Encinitas, California, when I was driving, and this truck pulls out in front of me, and behind it, on the back window, it's got this sticker, want free antioxidants, call 760 whatever. And I was like, free antioxidants? That's interesting. So I was like, let's see what the heck this is about. So I called him and I was like, what are you guys doing? He's like, oh, we got a show, this weekend. Come out and see us. So I went to go check out this expo they were at, and it was the barefoot, not the barefoot, but the grounding crew, where they made the grounding pads and all that stuff. So it was the first time I saw the science behind being barefoot on the earth is actually incredibly beneficial to our health. Like you mentioned earlier, the negative ions, what that really is it's antioxidants. It reduces swelling, which explains why your pains went away. And my pains started going away then too. It increases our overall health. It's one of those signs, one of those earth signs, those teachings that says, look, this is what you're supposed to be doing because you're getting good benefits from it.
Right.
But now, when I meditate, often I'll go sit outside and just barefoot on the ground and meditate, and I feel a stronger connection that way when I do that. So I really feel strongly that there's, aside from the health benefits, but then also, as you're saying, opening your heart. Yeah, I think there's that profound transformation that can happen that opens us up spiritually as well when we're connecting to this, spiritual place we live in.
Yeah, and I think it always is interesting to me when I hear what I call the barefoot stories and the awakening, how it just pops in somebody's head. It's just like, man, I'm gonna start walking barefoot. I know barefoot Ted. He had the same kind of awakening. I know other guys, and that I've seen that be a common thing. And the other thing that began to happen, I became fanatical about it. I mean, I just made a vow, I will never wear shoes again. And it was so powerful to me. And then I went on a very long run up in the Olympics. And I get up there and I'm close to the glaciers, the snow line, but, it's September or sometime. And I'm miles out, no shoes, incredible feeling, just a freedom, like, look how far I've gone, no footwear, I'm so special. And then early snow came in, and here I was barefoot. And so I did have a moose hide jacket, and I spent the night and the next day keeping a fire going, cutting up that jacket and building myself a set of footwear.
Oh, wow.
Buckluck, so I could get back down. And, it was rough. I had to gather wood. I had to do a little bit of that, heat my feet back up again. And I was just trying to build this footwear and make my own mocks to come out of there. But what it taught me in doing that was the earth teaching me again. It taught me that becoming a fanatic about it, I still had an attitude of domination in me. Mm-hmm. I thought I could make a vow, I will never wear footwear again. And that earth taught me, well, yeah, you bet, bud. We're going to take your toes, And so it was another learning lesson for me, and where it made me realize that middle path, that more towards integration, and finding that way to fit in. And because I was, carrying a chip on my shoulder. Look what modern culture's done. Look at all the destruction. I was really good at throwing stones at other things, and that's when I really woke up to this path of integration. And that was like another transition for me. I mean, I got the barefoot awareness, the healing power coming. I got stronger, and then I got cocky and said, yeah, I'm going to go the rest of my life and I'll never wear shoes again. And before I knew it, I was sitting up on a mountain making myself a set of mukluks to get off of there. And it pushed that domination attitude in me. And that's why I say, follow your feet and the earth will teach. But that light bulb coming on in us is like, I hope somebody's doing some research and study on it. You talk about earthing. Clint Ober and I used to talk.
Uh-huh.
And when he was first coming up with that earthing thing, and it was amazing to me that he brought in that research. And I ran out with a voltmeter and just started playing with that. It's just amazing stuff. And I'm really glad to see the research and the science taking place in that. How that comes, but you don't need the voltmeter. You have your own, just like you said, inside you going, oh, wow, I really feel good. And that's that basic barometer in us is this feeling good, and does it fit in?
So how does barefooting, how does it build or directly relate to self-reliance?
I think you're claiming to be the author of your own story. I have tried to outrun the word story, but I find we're all storytellers. No matter how I try to interpret life, I come through story. And story is three things: you gather, and you store, and then you release. You tell your story. And for me, barefooting begins by getting the root of story, and that's the sensory flow that's coming in. So you're gathering direct sensory information, and you're pulling in your habitat. Walk around in your bare feet, and then you begin to claim, well, I need soles, I need footwear. And it's hard to find a cobbler anymore that can craft footwear for your own feet. And so you got to find a cobbler, or else you start crafting for your own feet. And so now you're claiming command of your own feet, instead of turning that over to engineers that well, here, I can design a footwear for you, wear this and you'll be better. You begin to claim that for yourself in your own walk. And I think that goes deep subconsciously into us. We're all two-footed species. And when we begin to claim our own walk, we're going to have to claim our talk. They are so hooked together. And so you become the author of your own story, and walking with authenticity. You expose yourself. And the biggest thing that I find I expose about myself is that all of us, every one of us, are so full of crap. We think we're so all thinking and power. And then I get to this place, we're all so full of crap that humor comes out, Right. And so claiming that humor and that joy lightens you up to where you can go, you open your heart and you let stuff in and say, so let's explore, let's go. And so you're claiming your heart, you're claiming your walk, and your talk eventually has to align with that. So,
yeah, it's like being able to laugh at our own ridiculousness, right?
Yes, yeah.
And I mean, you seem like a very humble man, and I mean, would you say that your humility and the wisdom that I see that you share, that came from your experience of being barefoot in the mountains?
Absolutely. Well, and I had a lot of mentors in my life too. Incredible mentors. I had fathers and uncles. They were all career Marines, but very heartfelt, strong heart men, all from the Olympics. My grandfathers and grandmothers from the Olympics, and they all had this sense of humor about them. They were Nordic, Celtic, and so they come from that hard place, and they were mentoring me. Like one of the things my grandfather passed on to me when I was a kid, I used to run around and pout. I'd be pouting. And I was growing up over in Okinawa in Japan, but I'd be flown back every summer to be with him in the Olympic Mountains. And I was pouting around my granddad, and he made me pick up this big stone and he hold it up over my head, and I'm holding it, and I'm just like shaking, I just don't want to hold it anymore. And then he said, "Let it go," and I let it go, and he said, "You feel that release, that letting it go. Now you let that pouting go. You let that sadness go. You don't know what to do with it. The earth knows what to do with it." And that was a big teaching for me, that I could use strength disciplines. I could lift stone, get a grip and strength on something, and then release and detach my sadness or my madness. But I can also detach and release my gladness, or my happiness and passion. It doesn't just end with, okay, now I'm going to get rid of my sadness and madness. I can go out into the world and release my gladness back, because that's what the earth does back. And once you get in that rhythm, that detachment of that, yeah, I guess that was going somewhere there. Where was I? I got detached and I forgot. Yeah.
Yeah, well, no, it makes perfect sense. Exactly, learning to let go, and that's humility, and that's um, I love how you also talked about, taking control or taking direction of your own life. I mean, that's what self-reliance is about. It's about, having more independence as well as interdependence, right? So that we're able to not have to be dependent on large corporations to provide our shoes or our clothing or
Right.
our food, for example, and not have to depend on governments or other people to provide our basic necessities. And it just makes so much sense that by going barefoot automatically forces us to figure out, like, okay, how do I, maybe you just start learning how to make my own moccasins. I mean, that's a form of self-reliance, as well as, you're going to build the strength and the kind of
Right.
the natural leather at the bottom of your feet, which builds,
Right.
not only strength within your feet, but confidence within yourself that you can go out and, you don't need other people to provide for you. Um,
And it's a point to where you don't need other people, because self-reliance to me is more, another word I really speaks well to me is clan reliance, family reliance, because um, you know, like Moon here, she taught me a lot about sandal and moccasin and leather making. Carl, some other guys, but we need clans. So one of the things I do on my quest, and I go out there, I pick up a lot of vision, a lot of musings, but I've learned to bring them back to my clan, and we sit in a circle, and I get the muse those songs, I get the muse those teachings, and get the females input into that, the woman's input into that.
mhm.
Women. I think the word of the fitness means fit the nest, and women know how to fit the nest, and that home energy in there. So it's like I'll run around in the mountains, but when I come back, I know a lot of stuff I carry may be too overpowering, and how do I fit it back into this modern cultural story? So I don't want the corporations. I don't need stuff like that coming on me, but I do need relationships and clan to make it strong, because no matter how much I try to make myself a sandals, Moonhair makes them a lot better than I do. So knows my foot size, and then there's other relationships in my life where, or just like trying to figure out all this electronic stuff, and I need clan for that. I need relationships with that. So the reliance comes about. It's what you're building with this group, and they putting these gatherings together and stuff, and pulling it in. It's uniting relationships. It's pulling. I really honor what you're doing, because it's bringing people together of like-minded, like ways and stuff to have that sharing and stuff, and that makes us strong in reliance.
Right.
I thought, like on Nat Geo show, I was under the impression they were going to call it the land of legends.
Hmm.
And we were going to talk about trees and lots of other people and those relationships. And they just focused on one guy. They just, legend of Mick Dodge. And that was a shock to me. I was like, no, it's not about just one person. Self-reliance, authorship, is about the land, and it's about your clan, and it's about making your stand. I mean, those are three words I say every morning: clan, land, and make a stand, and find my clan and the land I'm in and make a stand. So
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I got inspired to do the first Self-Reliance Summit, was because I recognized the importance of developing these skills of self-reliance. But I also recognized an entire industry that was being born, that was encouraging people to load up with ammo and guns and go off in the hills by themselves and wait for the end of the world and live alone, and someone
yeah,
comes up on you, shoot them, kind of thing. And it's fine, you want to do that, but to me, I recognize that there's no fulfillment in that, and fulfillment comes from a lot of these things we're talking about. It's about community and sharing ideas and song and dance and creativity with like-minded people, and
right,
we learn from each other, and we have gifts to share with each other. Without that
right,
community and those relationships and that spiritual connection and all of these things, then people find themselves feeling empty, and they're trying to fill it with drugs and alcohol and sex and violence and anger and whatever else. They're trying to fill that void. I was there as a kid,
yeah,
from 9 years old until 18. I mean, I was searching for everything I could to fill that void: drugs, alcohol, sex, violence, you name it. And then I realized none of that, money, none of that fills that void. But what does is that interconnection with myself, interconnection with the people around me
right,
who I care about. And then it's like you can go off into the mountains and try and do something by yourself and watch how long it takes you to do it by yourself. We just
right.
built a medicine wheel for the equinox out here on the land in Santa Fe, where we're doing Unify Fest. And if I went out there to build it by myself, it had taken me 3 days.
Right,
We had a
right.
dozen people show up, and we built it in 3 hours.
Get it done.
You
Yeah,
know, you know. So I mean, I love that you're mentioning that, and I also, I mean, I speak to the same thing: interdependence, inter-reliance, self-reliance, clan reliance. I like that. I like that term. So that's what the Earthgym that you've created. We're talking about hopefully being able to have you come out and do the Earthgym and share your wisdom at Unify Fest in Santa Fe, and because that's about uniting peoples of all walks of life.
unite the clans. I
You,
mean,
you,
when I first heard you got there, I heard that, and I went, "Oh yeah, let's jump on that one, man. I see where this guy's at."
so maybe you talk about Earthgym and what it is, and how it's related to all this work that we're talking about.
Well, the Earth is a gem, from my perspective, and going, and you can spell that in two ways: GYM or GEM. And so I use my feet and I quest in the mountains with those letters, those symbols. And GYM, I'm landing my 2 feet in a stride and a rhythm and a song comes. GYM is like ground your mind, ground your movement, ground your moment. And so as I was entering the earth and training that way, I was barefooting. I In martial arts, I learned staff training, fighting with a stick. Right, we used to smack each other around with these sticks, and I loved that kind of training. And I had this really nice one that my sensei had given me, and I was out training with it, got in a training trance, laid it down somewhere, and then I couldn't find it. And I had to, for 2 days, I was in this detachment mode. I wanted that teak wood stick back. I couldn't find it. And so I started detaching, and I picked up other sticks, but they were always odd shaped. And now, instead of doing my little fighting stuff, I was learning how to move my body in a different way with this stick. And pretty soon I started dancing with that stick.
Hmm.
And then that opened up the diversity. And that led me back in. My granddaddy's taught me a lot about tree climbing. And then I was back up in the trees and really training with trees then. So stick training became a part of my practice, how to leverage the sadness out of you, how to leverage the gladness out of you and dance with sticks. And then in going to trees, I began to train with just ropes and using ropes to hang over a tree limb, do pull-ups, flips, ropes spread up into going up higher and sleeping in hammocks. And so there was a whole rope training that I call weaving with ropes. And then didn't have any weights. And I loved powerlifting, so I was doing stones. And stones made you grip differently. That wasn't the straight little bar. This movement's really good at developing boredom, and stones you could begin to dance with, and there's bringing in song, and so these simple earth tools that have been with our species for millions and millions of years, simple tools began to show me so much more. And then as I was coming out of the mountains, going back down and training, I was looking for defeated people, and I'd talk them out of their shoes. Here's a stick, leverage, use like a shoehorn, leverage further. Use a rope, pull yourself even further. Get strong with a stone. All those practices became formed up. And at the same time, I was training with Jacquie, because I was coming down sharing all these things with her. And Jacquie was, yoga and dance and very fluid in movement. And so I was getting this more fluid movement to me, understanding it more. And I was training with river otters and elk. And so this all began forming up in the Earthgym. And we began to, try to fit it into modern culture, where now I'm in building the first Olympic mountain Earthgym up in the Olympics, and it's a gathering spot that is following all these principles and practices.
So this is one of the ways that keeps you youthful as you continue to age.
I hope so. By this time, my bones hurt. I'm up in the Olympics. I'm 65 now, and I used to razz my granddaddies about this, because the wet and the cold, a very wet, cold country up here, and I used to really get after them. But now I'm eating my words, because I like sunshine a little bit. And I come down to Tahoe every now and then and get the sun in the winter and stuff. So youthful. I don't know. It keeps me spirited.
Well, I see your videos, and I mean, you're in your 60s and you're lifting heavy rocks and running and jumping and all these things that 20 and 30-year-olds sometimes can't even do. And then I see a lot of people in their 60s, and they're barely moving along. So obviously something you're doing is working.
Well, I think it's there's three things that I look at in a cultural story that I as a tracker and a hunter, that I taken my hunting and tracking skills and focus on people that go around and get their feet on the earth. And one is where are people defeated? We've never in the history of this planet had where walking has become such a choice. And many people, because of this getting off your feet, sedentism, the sedentary gets going. And so we start making decisions. Our thinking and our feeling comes from, sitting all the time. We're sedentary. And then those two being defeated, so it's about getting back on your feet. That means get up off your butt. And the third thing I see, we have this infection of arrogance. And what the earth's taught me about arrogance is it's okay to be ignorant. There's things we're all just ignorant about something, but as you're moving along and you become aware, the reality, the truth opens up in front of you. That ignorance turns into ignoring. And that ignorance, when you begin to ignore truths that are in front of you, like throwing toxic chemicals in the water, destroying things needlessly, that ignorance then becomes arrogance. And we all suffer from that. I find myself, I always find some kind of arrogant thing I'm being about that I know, well, that's a little bad behavior, but I'm going to do it anyway, you know? And it's like catching yourself and keeping that place of honor and hanging on to what you become aware of. You know, what I look at with you mentioned humility earlier, there's a walk in us that's being humble, being humility, and that's a great walk. But if you do that too long, you turn into whining. I mean, you're just this whining kind of walking being that's just not fun to be around. And then the other side of the coin to that is honor. You stand with integrity, stand with honor. But if you do that too hard and too strong and coming on with honor all the time, you turn into an asshole. You know, it's like you get out of balance. And what brings those two into balance is humor. That's the joy in the humor. You know, when humility's gone too far, that's when like, you know, okay, enough of that, you know, and when the honor goes too far, it's bringing the humor and releasing that so we get back into balance again. And so that joy, that humor or love, my definition of humor is just coming from love, coming from that place of, you know, let's share. You know, once you start sharing, you're talking about a medicine wheel. And when you're sharing that opens up the caring. Well, that means to me, if you begin to care about something, you better learn how to share it, or that caring will die. They are so related, and you have to be fully aware to get that caring and that sharing going. So I always work on things in threes because I got 2 feet that land into a stride. Mm-hmm. And so I got my left side landing my right brain, my right feet landing my left brain, and I'm doing that. That forms into that center place where they begin to make sense. So I look, whenever one concept comes up, I'm always looking for 2 others to kind of ground them out and fit them into that triad, that triangle.
Yeah, it sounds like the story of my life. I go from one extreme to the other extreme, and then I realize they both have consequences and learning experiences, and then I try to find the balance in between. It's been the story of my life, you know. But and I think a lot of us do that. But I think if we get stuck in one extreme of something for too long, then we get bitter or angry or whiny or whatever. Until we find that balance, and that is, I think life is all about balance.
You're a polar explorer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exploring the polarities of everything in the universe has 2 polarities. So
well, I think you're defining yourself to me as what I call myself as a polar explorer. Mm-hmm. We are at a time now where we're exploring these polarizations, and we're finding, what's over on the left, what's over on the right, and then, and I just have solid faith. I've done that so many times, gone on one extreme that, okay, what's the other extreme over here? And I think you need to go that extreme. Yes, push that extreme until you get there where you finally got enough instinct, enough intuition, and when you go, okay, where's the middle one? Where's the middle one? Right, and you have to be fully aware for that, and you got to be full of integrity to look in yourself and go, yeah, I was a real jerk then, and be humorous about it but if you know you're a jerk and you keep being a jerk, well, that's arrogance. See, that's where arrogance is coming in. You're ignoring that, checking yourself out and going, oh, that was extreme. I can knock that off, Right, and the people around you got to be enough to go, well, you got to prove to them you got that ability to adapt and change like that. And they see that take place in you, then it helps them to it takes place in them. And Jackie's real good about that. I'm real bad at it, but she's real good about making it to that place, getting me there.
Well, it sounds like she's your other balance, your opposite polarity to help you along.
Oh, she's a wise woman, really wise. Yeah, she's and she knows how to cook too. So
there you go.
I learned that long ago. I ain't good at cooking, so I love to eat.
Nice, nice. Well, listen, Mick, it's been incredible chatting with you. I want to share a few websites here with everybody. Listen, I encourage you to take a look at these. We'll have the links on this page. You can click on as well. But take a look at the earthgym.com. Fantastic website. You can see what Mick's doing at the earthgym.com, and then also take a look at mickdodge.com. You can see the different projects and things going on both those websites. He's got a great Facebook social media presence too, so find him on Facebook. But the earthgym.com, mickdodge.com, those links are below.
And
yeah, go ahead.
there's one mickdodge.net.
Okay, and the .net.
Yeah, we're real slow on getting all this kind of stuff together, but mickdodge.net is another one. And if you go on Facebook, you have to look for the one with the blue dot and the check mark, because there's 3 or 4 fake pages out there. So it's, there's a lot of people that are playing to be me for some reason, which makes me wonder if they're barefooting. That's
Hey, at least you're inspiring people enough to where they want to create their own Facebook page to be just like you. So,
yeah.
Hey, so we'll put that link below as well. You can click to those links directly on the web page. A couple other websites for everyone to check out. If you missed any of the interviews during the free period and the free replay period during the summit, you can own all of them. There should be a link on this page, an upgrade link. Take a look at that. That's the selfreliancesummit.com/upgrade. Then you can own all of these recordings for life and listen and watch them again and again. And finally, take a look at Unify Fest. It's a 4-day transformational festival we're producing here in Santa Fe in September, and it's about uniting humans of all walks of life. It's about celebrating life, and it's about leaving the land better than we found it. So there's self-reliance building skill workshops, there's keynote presentations, there's amazing music and yoga and Tai Chi and movement classes. Hopefully we'll have Mick Dodge out in the Earthgym and Jacquie Chandler, so hopefully you'll be able to meet them in person, and love to have you come out and just explore what it's like to be in community and have an amazing time building skills for the new world, really. So take a look at unifyfest.com. And again, Mick, man, it's been a true pleasure and an honor. This has been wonderful.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. And
thanks for having me on, man.
Absolutely. And thank you all for watching and tuning in. We love to hear from you. Leave us your comments and feedback and thoughts below. And we'll talk to you next time on the Self-Reliance Summit. Take care.
Yoish.